Good morning. Thank you for having me. I was, like you, very much 20 over years ago, a young JC student, but in a different JC, in Raffles Junior College, thinking about what I want to do in life. Uh, Pretty much left on my own. I grew up in a broken family. My father was seldom at home. There's seldom money in the house. And I recalled those moments where I had to go down to the HDB block, which I stayed, to carry water from the taps because there's no water in the flat. Sometimes there's no electricity. I have to burn candles in the room to study. Sometimes I would go down to the void deck to borrow the fluorescent tubes along the corridors. I grew up with nothing that all the luxuries that our modern young people have. And when I thought back about what happened, I was lacking this leadership figure in my life. And because this leadership figure was missing in my life, I yearned to have it. And that's maybe why I joined the Singapore Armed Forces. And I joined the Singapore Armed Forces for 24 years before I retired. And I've learned as much as possible from all the leaders that I can find in the organization. I joined the Singapore Army because I considered it to be the best organization in Singapore. And when I was there 24 years, I found good leaders as well as I found bad ones. But even the bad ones have something to teach you. And when I interacted with all these leaders from various fields, ranging from ministers to engineers, industry captains, theater directors, sportsmen, I began to understand and distill that there's a distinct growth pattern about leadership. And once you master this distinct growth pattern about leadership, you are then in a better position to orchestrate what you want to do, how you want to develop yourself as a leader. Now, a lot of our people tell our students you should dream before you start to do something. But I humbly suggest to you, in the leadership development process, is the complete opposite. You have to start from doing before you can dream. Now, a lot of you might look at me and say, this is very counterintuitive, Lawrence. But listen to me, and as you begin to understand and appreciate what I'm going to tell you, you begin to understand how the 4 leadership practices work and how you can master them systematically in your life to achieve what you want to do, no matter where you are and what you're doing. Now, I've been to many organizations, and a lot of organizations leave leadership development as something that comes by chance. There's no deliberate process. They don't know what the role leaders play in their organizations, and they don't know how to prepare them for the challenges. And the 3 things that I want you to take away today are as follows. I want you to begin to understand what are the roles that leaders are expected to play in an organization, and what are the types of challenges they would face. And having grasped this, then you will understand what sort of practices or skills you need to have in order to succeed in that organizations, in leading your people. And once you understand that, then you are in a better position to understand what is a leadership development process. Where shall it start? Now, when organizations talk about great organizations, they always use this walking man analogy. The walking man analogy is very powerful. The legs represent the 2 foot of an organization, the 2 feet. One is the organization strategy, and the other is the business strategy. And these 2 strategies must be aligned so that the organization, can stand up and walk properly. Imagine if one of these is not aligned, the man will and not be able to move forward. But where is this man going? What is guiding this man forward? It is what organizations call it the mission, vision, and values, the MVV. So imagine an organization that is propelled by 2 legs. One leg is the organization strategy. The other leg is the business strategy, guided by the MVV of the organization, and to move it forward. I've been studying, looking at this, and working with people in our organization for many years, but something don't make sense to me. Something is missing here, and that is the heart and soul of an organization. There's no heart and soul in the walking man analogy. So where is this heart and soul? So for many years, I've been proposing, let's broaden the working man to also have the third strategy, which is what I call the people strategy. And this people strategy is like the arc reactor of Iron Man, right? Propels the working man forward, always giving the working man the energy. And the energy must only come from the hearts and the mind. And the people strategy in our organization must always seek to energize the hearts and minds of the people in accomplishing business and organization strategy, living the mission, vision, and values of organization. So you might then ask me, based on this, what is the role of leaders in organization? The role of leader is very simple. The role of a leader is the heart and the brain of organization. It is to dynamically harmonize the three strategies: organization part, the business part, as the people part. A leader must be able to grapple with these three strategies and dynamically handle them. And because in organizations, leaders need to harmonize these three strategies, the things that leaders deal with exist in two dimensions. Frequently, when I go to the organization, they only emphasize on the physical dimension, which is the things part of things, which is what I call the physical dimension. But often they neglect that there's this social dimension, the people aspects of it, that a leader need to have. And this is frequently something that organizations don't prepare their leaders for. How to deal with people on the social front, in the social dimension. And if you understand the role of leaders, that there's three strategies that need to be harmonized, and problems that exist, or issues in our organization that exist in the two dimensions, in the physical dimension and the social dimension, perhaps we can then begin to understand what sort of spectrum of issues or problems that the leaders would face. So if you plot the physical complexity as the y-axis, and you plot the social complexity on the x-axis, and you characterize it by low and high complexity, you have 4 quadrants as shown in the screen. And by physical complexity, I mean the ability to relate the inputs to output. Something of low physical complexity would be a pulley, string and pulley system. You pull the weight on the pulley, you see the weight going up, you release the end of the rope, the weight falls down due to gravity. Now that's a simple physical, a system that's very simple in physical complexity. What about something that's very physically complex? An example would be a fighter aircraft, a human body, some will argue, where you take a medicine and you take hours to see whether it works. You can't directly relate the input to the output. What about the social complexity? Something low in social complexity is perhaps like a service that you get from your barber. You pay him $5, no question asked, he delivers a haircut, you walk away happy. Something that is very high in social complexity could be something like abortion, gay rights. These are typically issues that affect a lot of people, where people have certain predesignated beliefs or opinions. Therefore, it impacts a lot of people, and people have a lot of views, and it's something that it cannot be solved, something to be managed. So if you have these 4 quadrants, and these are the types of issues that the leader face in an organization, how can then we develop practices to address them? Now, if we focus on the first quadrant, this is what we call tame problems. These are problems that are low in physical and social complexity. These problems can be solved through the natural laws of science, through knowledge, through one person. And therefore, if a leader who wants to solve such problems, he needs to be competent. He needs to know how to 做事. But if you want to solve more complex problems that exist in the physical realm, a leader will not have the necessary expertise. No one person can build an aircraft. No one person can seek to understand the wonders of the human body. Therefore, to solve what social scientists call wicked problems, which is more physically complex, a leader needs to build teams. Assemble the teams of right expertise. And to assemble teams of right expertise, a leader must have empathy. A leader must be able to bring people together. A leader must be able to lead with the heart besides the stick. And therefore, A leader, besides knowing how to be competent, know how to 做事, a leader must also know how to 做人, be a human being. Now, moving on to the third quadrant. This is what we call messes, where something's very logical, but somehow it's not done because people just fight against it. There's resistance to change in the organization. So, what skills does it require a leader to do? It requires a leader to take on their roles, to engage and to advocate what is good for the organization, although people are fighting it with their hearts. And for leaders to do this advocacy and engagement, they must be able to play their role. This is what I call 做戏. 做戏 being to act out your role. So as you rise higher and higher up in the organization, being competent is not good enough. Being good at what you do is not good enough. You must be able to lead people. And to be able to lead people, you must be able to 做人, build excellent teams. But building excellent teams is not good enough, because when you're elevated to a certain position, people expect you to play your role. It's no longer about you and yourself. It's also about the office that you're carrying. And this is very important, and you must master the art of 做戏, or playing out your role. And what is the ultimate challenge for a leader? The ultimate challenge for a leader is to deal with the top right quadrant, which is what the social scientists call wicked messes. And these are problems that are intractable. They are intractable. An intractable problem cannot be solved. It can only be managed. So for a leader to solve such wicked messes, a leader must be able to inspire. He or she must be able to bring their people from the current state, current predicament, and help them envision a future that is better, that is worth fighting for. And to do that, a leader must be able to 做梦 and to inspire the people. So, one of the best examples of 做梦 is the speech by Dr. Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream. Although the US is in the 60s was immersed in slavery, but Dr. Martin Luther King delivered a stirring speech, and eventually, many years after he passed on, slavery was abolished in the United States. So this is an example of a very powerful person who can inspire. So if you understand this spectrum of potential issues that a leader is expected to solve in an organization, you begin to understand what is the development path. And the development path looks something like that. It must always start from the strong foundation of competency, from doing. Without competency, no one will follow you. No one will want to be on your team. Without the ability to engage people, to win their hearts, you will not be able to build an excellent team that deliver consistent, sustained, excellent results for your organization. And without this ability to play your role, as well as be yourself, you will not be able to carry the office and the organization and the entities that you lead. And being the pinnacle of your appointment when you're faced with difficult circumstances, difficult situations, you need to inspire your people to dream of the future and to believe in what they're doing, knowing that the odds are against them. Now, this development process is successive. You need to go through step by step, the mastery of each step before you can conquer the rest. And that's why these steps have worked for me. I started as a young boy with nothing. I worked very hard. I studied all the subjects that I can. I grew bonds with people. The only way I can succeed is to leverage the strength of people. And I joined the army, and I have brothers and still very good friends that I can rely on. And when I was doing many, many events for Singapore, as what the presenter said, I had to play on many roles. And sometimes I have to tell people to pull their weight. Sometimes I have to ask them to pull up their socks. It's not pleasant, but I have to do the work. And sometimes when things get out of hand, people are down, and now the morale is low, I have to inspire people. And this has worked for me, and I believe this can also work for you if we only know how, and if we only try and put to practice what we know into real life. So I want to encourage all of you to start thinking about the leader within you, to think about what I've said, and start doing something positive in your life. Take charge and be the leader that you can be. Thank you very much.